This is the FRC Roundtable, coming to you all the way from Minnesota. Your host team 2052 Nightcrawler presents this weekly FRC gathering where FIRST robotics competition teams take cooperation off the field. Share your knowledge, give and get advice, solve a challenge, or celebrate what makes your team special. 3, 2, 1, go!
Welcome everybody to the Sunday Night Roundtable. My name is Scott Davis. I'm your host, and I'm flying solo tonight. I don't have a student co-host with me tonight. But before we get started, I have a few housekeeping things that we need to address. The Roundtable is recorded for YouTube, so we'd love to have everyone share their cameras, especially when they're talking, but we also want to respect student privacy. So if you're concerned with your privacy, please feel free to leave your camera off or change your name on your Google Meet session to be just your first name or your initials or something like that. Participation in the Roundtable is voluntary, but you must be 13 years or older to participate. To see more information about the Roundtable, including our full privacy policy, you can go to team2052.com/roundtable. You can also join our mailing list there and sign your team up to host a future Roundtable call. Finally, be sure to follow us on our podcast on Spotify and several other podcasting platforms. We have a new segment that we started doing this year. Let me share my screen. And let's see here. Here we go. It's called What's on the Wiki. And tonight's episode for What's on the Wiki, we uploaded some new things. There we go. Can everybody see that? We added some new things into our leadership category of the wiki. We talked previously, I believe we talked in a previous episode about our captain selection process, but now we've uploaded our list of standard interview questions that we give all of our captain and leader candidates ahead of time. These are some of the questions that they might be asked in their interview. And we don't usually get through all of them, but depending on how they answer, that usually leads us to a different area. We've just uploaded a description of some of our captain and leader roles, its current roles, and roles that we've had in the past. And we also uploaded our rubric. We mentioned this in our previous call too, but all of our student captains are evaluated by their peers. And all students review all captain candidates and leadership candidates based on how they fit our core values. And so we give them a feedback form, and we give them this rubric of how to score their fellow students. And this plays a big part into our caption selection process. So hopefully someone out there finds that helpful. We strive to upload new things to our wiki every week, and we will continue to do that. All right, let me stop my presentation. There we go. All right, tonight's presenter is Mick. Mick comes to us from Winona University. No, what is the university now? It's is it Minnesota State, right? Is that right?
Winona State.
Winona State. Okay. Winona State University. I asked Mick at the start of this if he wanted me to read his intro. He said no. So I'm going to let him introduce himself and take it away. There you go, Mick.
Beautiful. Thank you very much. And I'll introduce myself in just a second. But first, for everyone on this screen right now, I have to read you a little something. In case no one's told you lately, you are amazing, strong, brave, wonderful, kind, loved, worthy, and there's no one like you. The world needs you. Basically what I'm trying to say, no matter who you are, what your story is, where you're from, what your role is right now, you're amazing. All right. If you leave my presentation tonight with nothing else, please remember that beautiful person looking back, you in the mirror every day, you're amazing. And speaking of amazing, quick shout out to thank you for Nicole and Scott and Julie from Winona State, who wasn't able to make it tonight. I think she's celebrating a birthday or something like that. So tonight you can read the screen, but I just want to tell you, my name is Mick Lynch. I'm a psychologist at Winona State, and I'm here tonight because for the past 25 years, I've had the great honor and opportunity to work with people who are experiencing mental health challenges. All right, I've heard a lot of stories, I've seen a lot of struggles, and I realized the importance of sharing what I know. All right, I'm here tonight because the world needs it. Anytime anyone asked Mick, will you come talk to this group about mental health? The answer is yes, and I'll figure it out. Tonight, we're going to talk about these things, but I'm not trying to train clinicians. Mental health is a human thing, and I want to try to talk about mental health just in a way that's real, in a way that makes sense, and in a way that you can apply it, in, your life at home, in schools, robotics, whatever it may be, any community you're part of. All right. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to talk about mental health and do a little education, but I think the most rich part, I want to read or have time at the end for questions and discussion and whatever might be on your mind, whether it be sharing a story, having, wanting input, feedback on something, whatever it may be. So as we go through, feel free to jot down if you have a question or a discussion point. That'd be awesome, because otherwise I love to talk and I will just keep on yapping. So that being said, I would love to hear your voices in answering this question. I think I was saying before that I appreciate you all inviting me into the not only the roundtable, but the world of robotics. It's not where I'm most comfortable. It's not what I know yet. But why is it important for you to know more about mental health? Anyone want to share why? Why do you think it's important? Why am I here tonight? You can use chat. You can shout out whatever you desire. Who's going to be that first brave soul?
I'll volunteer. Stacy, mentor with Team 2472, and we all have our own mental health challenges, and I've really, in the last few years, really seen our young people at that high school level probably struggling more than in like the 10 years before when I worked with scouts and others similar age. I think with COVID and just other things going on in the world, like to have more tools in the toolbox to be able to help them.
Beautifully said. And I think, the society, the world we live in for various reasons is challenging. And the people in our schools, whether it be middle school, high school, or even the university, they're changing, and we have to be able to adapt to that. So hopefully you'll leave with at least one more tool in your toolbox. Anyone else? Why is it important for you?
Mick, this is Scott. We lost a student on our team to suicide a couple of years ago, and it put everybody in a tailspin. I think it was really unexpected for a lot of people, and I just don't know what to think about what I observe now after having been through that experience, and I feel unprepared.
And I think, and I'm sorry to hear that. I did hear about that, and I don't think it matters who you are. That is something that shakes you. It's disbelief when it comes to suicide. I think we've all been impacted, whether it be in our homes, in our communities, and it does shake us. And hopefully tonight we'll have a little clarity on how maybe I can recognize and have a conversation with anyone who might be struggling, right? And take care of ourselves in the process. Anyone else care to share? Always volunteer. Well, I'll tell you what I think. I think it's important for all of us, no matter who we are, to know about mental health, to learn more about mental health, because bottom line, mental health matters. And I want to kind of lay a foundation for that, kind of a good starting point. Mental health matters, first of all, because we all got it. It doesn't matter who you are. We all have mental health. It's common humanity. Whether you're a student, whether you're a mentor, a teacher, whether you're an introvert, extrovert, high achiever, whatever. And mental health impacts every area of our life. It impacts us socially, in relationships. It impacts just our daily functioning, our relationships, our performance, everything. So when our mental health is good, life is good. When it's not, it's really rough. But we all have it, and that's why it matters. Mental health matters because that very simple statistic that's on the screen, 1 in 5 and 1 in 4. All right, depending on your age, 1 in 5, 1 in 4 experience a mental health disorder. Even the people on this screen right now, if you look at the number on the screen and you look to your right, left, up, down, I mean, that 1 in 4, that 1 in 5 can apply right here. Anyone, anywhere, someone whether you know it outright or not, someone probably is experiencing a mental health challenge. Okay, it's not those other people. It's not, someone else. All right. Mental health matters because if you feel well, you do well. Pretty simple. I mean, you perform better when you feel better. If you feel good mentally, emotionally, you will do better, in school. You will do better in relationships. You will do better in competition and all of that. All right. And the little brain in the corner, mental health matters because it's just as important as our physical health. We all have physical health and we take darn good care of it, hopefully. All right. But do we do the same for our mental health? We go to a dental checkup. If we break a bone, we go to the emergency room. We take medications for all sorts of medical reasons. But is it the same for our mental health? All right. And then we have stigma. One of the biggest things that prevents help seeking and misperceptions and everything else, all those negative attitudes that are still very real. I think they're getting better within our schools and our society, but the stigma around mental health is still very real. All right. Sometimes when I talk about the stigma, I think of a couple would you rather questions to kind of demonstrate that. Would you rather, just think for a second, cancel your plans with friends because you had a migraine or because you're too socially anxious to go out? Would you rather tell a teacher you couldn't come to class because you had the flu or you were so depressed you couldn't get out of bed? And, our mental health matters, but sometimes we don't really treat it that way. And even though our mental health matters a lot, what about, let's say 40% of people who are experiencing anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder, any kind of mental health challenge, 40% at least don't seek treatment. Why do you think that is? Why is it? I mean, mental health is so prevalent. We all have it. All right, 1 in 5, 1 in 4. Why don't people seek help? Well, now that it just showed you that. If you read the screen, you would have got your answer. Why don't people seek help? Whether it be ourselves or the students we work with, students, mentors, teachers, adults.
I suspect it's largely the stigma around asking for help or admitting that you need help.
Absolutely. Stigma is one of the biggest. And these are just a few. The stigma, without a doubt, feeling embarrassed, feeling judged. A lot of times we don't seek help because we just don't know. If we've never experienced a mental health challenge ourselves, if it hasn't happened within our own family, our own social circle, we don't know. We don't know the signs and symptoms. All right. Maybe we didn't have a class in mental health. All right. Maybe it's cultural or personal beliefs. When we talk about mental health, we always have to take in consideration culture, their views on health, help seeking, all that kind of stuff. And our personal beliefs, sometimes, I've been doing this a while and I'll hear from people all the time. They wouldn't come in for professional help because they didn't think it was that bad. Or they thought, you know what, I can do this on my own. I'm independent. I don't need help. And I don't want to be seen as weak or crazy or anything like that. People fear being labeled. All right. They fear the labels of weak, crazy, people saying they're overreacting. And then those practical barriers. We like to think we live in a society where everyone has access to stuff. We live in the, land of opportunity. But there's a lot of people out there, whether it be lack of time, lack of insurance, lack of transportation, lack of money, they can't get what they need. So even if they're experiencing a mental health condition, they can't get what they need. All right. Okay. We're going to see if this works. We're going to test your mental health knowledge before we dip in anymore. This is your participation time. If you have a phone handy, All right. If you don't have a phone, that's fine. You can play along. You can just kind of answer. But go ahead. If you have a phone, scan that code. Now give everyone a second if you want to do that. 10, 9, 8, 7. Yeah, okay. Let me. All right. For anyone. All right. Looks like we're in there. Everybody ready? This is competition. You all know competition. Maybe a little bit different than you're used to. But let's go. I'll let you all go ahead and read it. Oh, all right. See, we learned something new. And this is just a warm-up. Green is the recognized, we have a green bandana project at Winona State. Green is the color for mental health. They may become a little more challenging, though. Oh, look at that. All right. Yeah, unfortunately, there's a lot of factors that go into mental health, but there's no MRI for bipolar disorder. There's no blood tests for depression, even after all these years.
Mick, can I ask you to read off the questions for our folks that are going to be listening on Spotify?
Oh, I'm sorry. Absolutely. What is the leading cause of disability in the United States? Is it cancer, depression, diabetes, or anxiety? Oh, the correct answer is depression. Okay, the number one leading cause, if you think of all the medical conditions, I mean, cancer, diabetes, all these other things, and yet depression is the number one leading cause of disability in the United States. Oh, ooh, look at that. All right, time to play catch up, everybody. Question 4 of 10. Suicide is the blank leading cause of death among people ages 10 to 24 in the United States. Is it the first leading cause, second leading cause, fourth leading cause of death, or seventh leading cause? Oh, we're looking good. It is the second leading cause of death among people ages 10 to 24 in the United States. Question 5. 50% of mental health problems begin by what age? Is it 14, 18, 25, or 40? 50% of mental health problems begin by what age? Ooh, it is 14. And just think of that. Think of whether it be people in your own home, in your community, in your schools, on your teams, whatever it is. Age 14. A lot of times we think this is adults, this is college students. All right. Question 6 of 10. What state has the lowest reported percentage of people living with mental illness? Is it Minnesota, Wisconsin, Colorado, or New Jersey? The state with the lowest reported percentage of people living with mental illness. Oh, it is New Jersey. It's very interesting. 3 people picked Colorado. I'd love to hear why, but we don't need to get into that. All right. It is New Jersey. I think the highest rate is Montana. Oh, we're looking at the leaderboard. Stacy. Oh, weren't you in the leader? You were the leader before. Can anybody catch her? Let's see. All right. Question 7 of 10. More young adults die from suicide than from cancer, heart disease, pneumonia, influenza, and chronic lung disease combined. More young adults die by suicide than from all of those things combined. Is that true or false? That is true. But just let it sink in. I mean, it's heartbreaking. But how much emphasis do we put on that versus these other things sometimes? Okay. Question 8 of 10. Mental illness can affect any age, race, religion, education level, income, or gender. Is that true or false? That is true. 100% on that one, everybody. Well done. Question 9 of 10. Mental illness does not have any physical effects on a person, only mental and emotional. True or false? Does it only have mental, emotional, or does it have physical effects as well? False. Mental illness, I mean, if you ask someone where they feel their depression, they'll say everywhere. It affects our behaviors, our emotions, our cognitions, how we feel physically. We call it mental illness or, mental or emotional problems, but it impacts everything. All right, question 10 of 10. There is hope. True or false? There is hope. True or false? Absolutely, positively. And I'm glad y'all got that one right. Very, 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 very well done. Oh, I think we have to see if there's a leaderboard. Oh, did we have 3 winners? Stacy, Scott, and John, and Nicole not far behind. Congratulations, one and all. I have nothing to give you other than my applause. Well done. All right. We're going to go back to our little whoop. In a second. My screen froze up. So we'll just hang out for half a second.
There we go.
All right, we are back. Yes. I gave it a little kick. It was all good. When we look at, if I would have you to pause a second and, I want you to picture in your head, what does mental health look like? I won't ask, but just, we all have this picture of what mental health probably looks like. But whether it be ourselves or if there's any, students on the screen, I think we all have different perceptions. A lot of times our perception is that this is what mental health looks like. Or this. Or this. Or this. But in reality, what mental health looks like in our daily lives is that classroom. That classroom, both students and teachers. On that field of play, no matter what it is. Our friend group. And yes, robotics. These are the pictures of mental health. All right. And just to normalize a little bit, right now, there's all these pictures on the screen, all these famous actors, all these famous musicians and everything else. These are people who have come out publicly about their own challenges, their own struggles with various mental illnesses. All right. I bring this up just to normalize it. It's not this scary thing that only happens to, the few people or people who have done something bad in their lives or, all these other stigmatizing thoughts. Bottom line is, the truth is everyone has a story. Right? And we've heard before, a lot of people have a story you know nothing about. We've all been through tough stuff. We've all been impacted by things that have changed us. It reminds me of a quote. Whenever I think of everyone having a story, I wrote it down so I didn't forget. Never judge a person by the chapter you walked in on. The person you work with, the person you see, you're only seeing that one moment in their lives. You're only seeing this one period. You don't know who they are, what their story is, where they've been, or anything like that. So that sets the stage. This is mental health. Mental health. But Mick, what do I do? Hopefully that hearing those things actually inspired you to you know what? I want to help somehow. Right? And we can do that by 3 simple things. Recognize, hey, everyone here, we can recognize those signs and symptoms of any kind of mental health challenge. We can learn those. We can respond. We can have a conversation. We can listen to someone and try to understand and try to help. And we can refer, meaning we can know the resources in our schools, in our communities, and we can help people practice self-care and take care of their own mental health. When we look at recognizing, okay, when someone walks up and says, how are you doing? 9 times out of 10, what are they going to say? How you doing?
Fine.
Yep, there you go. Yep, I'm fine. But just like that, are we really fine? That's what we're supposed to say. The thing is, if we're going to recognize, anything with regards to mental health, we gotta be able to tell when someone isn't fine. Fine in my profession, I always say that whenever I ask someone how you doing, they say fine, I basically look them in the eyes and say, you're not doing well, you just don't want to talk about it. They're like, yep, that's exactly it. But there's a lot of things, a lot of signs that people are having a hard time. They are going through something. It may be the way they look. It may be certain feelings or thoughts they have run through their heads, certain behaviors, whatever it is. All right. One thing we don't want to do in any of our spheres of influence is dismiss, or avoid when we see some of these signs. All right. And I'm going to put up a slide that just goes through some basic signs of someone may be having a hard time. All right. The number one, if you know someone, no matter who they are, adult, teen, child, whoever it may be, right? I think the number one thing to recognize is something off. Is there a change in how they're acting, their mood, their personality? Maybe it's their performance, different habits. If you notice, hey, this person's always really energetic and seems to be having fun, but now they're just lethargic and they're quiet. Whatever it may be, if there's a change in someone, it may be an indicator that, hey, maybe I need to have that caring conversation. And I put up a list here, and you can read through it yourself. Whether it be feeling overwhelmed or angry or just, hey, I don't care attitude. This list isn't exhaustive. And it's also, don't think, because I made the mistake, I had many abnormal psych classes in my career, and I always walked out thinking, and I don't mean this in a demeaning way or whatever, every time that I had a new illness, because, oh my gosh, I have a hard time focusing, or sometimes I don't care. All right. When we look at signs and symptoms of a mental health challenge, it's not like, oh, there's one thing, there must be something wrong. It's a combination of all these. But if you think someone in your life, if you look at that list and you see someone, hey, they just can't cope with their daily problems, or they're starting to withdraw, have that conversation. Talk to them. It may be absolutely nothing. It may be a bad day. It may be a bad grade. It may be a bad competition, whatever it is. But you want to recognize and then do something about it. One thing I often say is the start is what stops most people. They may recognize these things, but they don't do anything about it. And I want to throw this in here too. It kind of fits, is that all those signs and symptoms, depending on where we are in life, our stage of life and development, there's a lot of things that impact our mental health. Just really quickly on the individual level, our own age, genetics, it can be our gender identity, sexual orientation, our own beliefs, the coping skills we have. Individually, all those things can impact our mental health. Family, our relationship with our family members? Is there a history of mental health, violence, trauma? Community, our relationship with our teachers, our mentors, our coaches, our faith community, our school climate and academic pressures will all impact our mental health. The environment, all right? The environment, do we have access to food, shelter, healthcare, all of that? And then society, whether it be the political climate, economic inequalities, whatever it is, all these things can impact your mental health. I'm curious. I don't know if there's any students. Again, you do not have to answer. It's totally voluntary. I'm just wondering, what are the biggest things, if you're willing to share, that impact your mental health right now? Or if there's any mentors, adults, anything that impacts your mental health that you can think of.
Well, I guess for me, it's the recent passing of my mother about 2 months ago.
I'm sorry to hear that, John. That's, whether it's expected or not, that's hard. Loss is hard, and it is a process. Absolutely. And hopefully when we do experience these things, we get whatever help it is we need from wherever we need it too.
I think a challenge for a lot of both mentors and students this time of year is that we're starting robotics back up again, and we're starting training, and we have new students, and there's a lot of stress around trying to get everything organized, trying to get to know everybody. A lot of students struggle to find their place. Honestly, I've heard this so many times in robotics, is that for a lot of high school students, robotics is where they found their people. And maybe that means they were fairly isolated prior to that. Mm-hmm. And so getting into robotics still brings in a lot of that discomfort for some students. And they haven't quite found maybe their group yet, or they're really nervous about trying to fit in, and maybe they're trying to find their group and trying to figure that out.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, that identity, that sense of belonging, and just the stress, feeling overwhelmed, the uncertainty of joining something new, especially when there's people who have been doing it for a while. Pressure of that, academic pressure, I think someone threw that in there as well. And with the academic pressure, sometimes it's something we put on ourselves. Sometimes it's people within our own homes, parents or guardians putting that pressure on us. Maybe we're in a school environment that does that. A high level of perfectionism, whether it be in the classroom or in competition, right? And, when we look at, teens, just, simple things like lack of sleep deprivation is a huge thing for them. Social media and screen time in general. I did a whole class on how that impacts our mental health. A lot of these things, and it's very individualized. Some people may join a new team and they're like, okay, maybe I am a little more social and I can do this. Where other people are like, everyone has their clique. Everyone seems to know each other, and I'm just out here by myself. Okay. And I'm trying to look at the chats as we go. Oh, wow. Yeah. You're all facing some very real life challenging stuff here.
Allie brings up a really good point about upperclassmen, where it's not just the new kids that are coming into robotics, but our upperclassmen are often our leaders. And our leaders are not only trying to maybe step into a new leadership role, but to Allie's point, they're trying to figure out, where am I going to go to college? I got to get the ACT. I got to make sure I have good grades and ACTs and AP exams and everything. Yep. I'm always impressed with our juniors and our seniors who are managing so much and putting in upwards to 20, 30 hours a week at robotics at the same time. It's very impressive.
That's very impressive and very stressful, and that's the thing. Sometimes we're part of something, let's say robotics, And, that's maybe where we know these people the most, but we don't realize they also have a job, and they're taking the ACTs and they're applying to college or figuring that out. Maybe they have something going on at home. Sometimes we focus so much on one thing that we forget all these other parts of their identity that they're trying to balance and figure out. And that's just, it doesn't matter what age you're at. As adults, we just face different stressors. Thank God I don't have to take the ACT again. I have a senior daughter too, and I'm like, oof, thank God she got her mom's genes there. Whoops. So regardless of where these pressures, these symptoms come from, we want to recognize them. And then what do we do? What do we do when someone isn't fine? We recognize maybe they have some of this going on. They seem a little isolated. They seem a little more irritable. There's a change. What in the world do we do? Because again, the start is what stops most people. Sometimes we kind of feel, well, I'll just see how it goes, or maybe someone else will take care of it, or I'm a little too anxious or uncertain to approach them. Silence only does one thing, and that's make sure that the problem persists. A lot of times when I talk about how to have a conversation, we just come out and say it's an awkward conversation. That's okay. It's awkward, it's anxiety provoking, and it's okay. All right. But it's almost these things on the screen, ways to start the conversation when someone isn't fine, basically giving the message, I care and I'm concerned. Hey, we haven't talked in a while. How are you? Hey, this is a bit awkward, but I just want to know if you're really all right. Hey, is there anything you want to talk about? Hey, it seems like something's up. You okay? Hey, I've noticed you haven't been yourself lately. Do you want to talk? Obviously you use your own verbiage and depending on who you're talking to, but all you want to do, I noticed something and I want to say something. There is no right word. You don't have to have a script. Start the conversation. Okay. And when someone asks you, all right, and you're not fine, it's okay to say that. When someone says, hey, how are you? Maybe you're not fine. Hey, I'm actually going through some stuff. Today's just not my day. It's pretty rough. Hey, you know what? To be honest, I'm not doing so well. Hey, thanks for asking. Classes have really stressed me out lately. Having the courage to honestly say something like that, if someone asks how you're doing and you're able to respond that way, all right, you can have a connection and you can get your needs met. You can get the help you need just by being brave enough to start the conversation, being brave enough to say how you really feel. Does it take practice? Yes. Is it uncomfortable? Yes. Is it the most wonderful thing? Yes. Okay. And in these conversations, there's certain things you just want to do. And the biggest one there, we're talking about, hey, find a private place. Let's say you're in a competition and someone's just, maybe they're tearing up and you're like, what's going on? I can go talk to them. You know what? Find a private place where they can be honest, where you can have a conversation. All right. Share your observations and concerns. Hey, I've noticed you have been late to class a lot lately. I'm just wondering how you're doing. Listen, the number one thing you can do. I went to 10 years of college and I thought I knew everything, had all these wonderful skills. It wasn't until I was done that I had the clarity and realized sometimes I just need to be quiet and listen. It's the biggest thing. And I think we all have that ability. Listen, not to respond, but to understand what that person's going through without judgment. You may not agree with them. That's okay. Their reality is their reality. We'll validate that. We'll be there for them. And hey, ask one thing we can always, hey, what do you need from me right now? How can I help you? Help me understand what's going on. It is, just having the conversation, being, again, we're not clinicians, but be a kind, caring human being. That's what I'm asking of all of you. Okay. There's also some don'ts, and I like to throw these up because sometimes we fall in these little traps. Sometimes when someone comes to us and they're having a hard time, we're that fixer. We want to give advice. We want to fix their problem. Hey, that's not our role. Our role is a mentor. Our role is a friend. Our role is whatever it may be. We don't need to give advice. If they ask advice, great. Right? We have to be careful. Sometimes the words we use, whether we say crazy or, hey, just snap out of it. Oh, stop being so emotional. We would like to think we wouldn't say these things, but I hear it all the time. We say it in a humorous way. We make light of it. But if you're having a hard time and you're going through some stuff, having someone tell you just to snap out of it or quit being so emotional, if it were that easy, it wouldn't be a problem. All right. So we recognize, we respond, and then we refer. All right. Meaning, all right, we work the problem, we find out what's going on, and ultimately find out what that person needs. Find out what they want. It can be different for everyone. On the screen, I just put things, there's maybe that person needs professional help, and we can connect them to, a counselor or someone like that, a crisis person. But a big part of it, especially with students, is finding out, okay, how can you take care of yourself? What support do you have in your life? Is it family? Do we need to talk to them? Are your basic needs being met? Do we need to set boundaries? Do we need to connect with, different people in your community that can help? Maybe engaging in certain activities, being part of certain groups. We want to explore that with them. It's not always, oh, you have to go to a professional. You have to, go to therapy or take medication. That's always an option. All right. But not everybody wants that. Not everybody needs that. But hey, what do you need? Because our role, if we're helping someone, find out what they need and help them get that need met. And if we're the one having a hard time, being able to bravely say, like, hey, what I need right now is blank. Okay. This is if people don't know it, 988. 988 is the suicide and crisis lifeline. Changed a year and a half, 2 years ago, something like that. Basically, if you think of 911, 911 is for medical emergencies, right? 988 is basically equivalent for mental health emergencies. It's a 24/7 crisis line. You can text it, as it says on the screen. You can text 988. You can call 988, or you can do a live chat online at 988lifeline.org. It works anywhere in the United States, 24/7. If you are in crisis, if you are having problems and you don't know where to turn, 988 is always available to you. If someone in your life needs help, it's available to them, and it's available to you to call for them. It's a number that I hope everyone if you need to put it in your phone to remind you, beautiful, please do that. But 988 is there to help and to save lives. Okay? And it is, as it says on the screen, in our times of need, whoever we are, we're not alone. We may feel alone, and we may physically be alone. Right? But there's always help. All right, there's always hope. There's someone out there, professional otherwise, who's willing to, willing to listen and willing to help. I don't know what that was, but all right. I also want to look at ways we can maintain our own mental health. We talk about how do we recognize, how do we have a conversation, how do we get people what they need? All right. But for all of us, I'm sounding like Kermit the Frog now. We also want to maintain our own mental health. There's a lot of ways to do it. All right. One of them, and I have to do my little demonstration when I do this, is valuing yourself. It's just an important thing. Now, okay, imagine this. I'm holding up a $1 bill. We're gonna imagine it's $20. All right. So I have this $20. All right. Show of hands or whatever. How many of you would love this $20? If I could just reach through and give it to you. All right. Yeah, I think probably most of you, right? So, okay, crumpling it up. Okay, this wadded up, crumpled up $20. Who wants it? Yeah, probably still want it, right? All right. I'm going to toss it aside. I'm going to stomp on that $20. Who wants it now? This crumpled up, stomped on, tossed aside $20. All right. If you're like most people, you would say, of course I would. And why would you? It doesn't matter what I do to that $20. All right. It retains its value. No matter what I do to it, it's worth $20. All right. For each of us, we look at valuing yourself. It doesn't matter what mistakes you make. It doesn't matter what you've done. It doesn't matter, if the world's hitting you from the side and life isn't fair. It's very important when we look at maintaining our mental health that we still value ourselves. All right. At our core, it's a lot to say, but I love and accept myself unconditionally. And if it has to be, hey, I like and accept myself unconditionally. Doesn't matter what happens, I still value myself. All right. Ways to maintain our mental health: connect. The number one predictor of happiness worldwide is our connection to other people. Even if we're introverts, even if we aren't people, all right, we are social beings who need other people in our lives. All right. And not just people. I challenge each one of us, when it comes to our mental health, kind of look at the people we spend most time with, look at the people in our lives, because we don't just need people, we need good people. All right. So we want to make sure the people in our lives and our spheres of influence are good people and not toxic people. On that screen, another way to maintain your mental health is slow down. We live in a fast-paced world where we're addicted to speed. All right. We got to go, go, go. We need 36 hours in a day to get anything done. We have to multitask everything, right? All right. The inability to slow down is going to give me a job forever. All right. If the power of the pause, when we're stressed, when we're overwhelmed, when we have pressure and everything else, we go faster and faster. Ultimately, what we need to do, we need to pause. We need to let our racing mind and our body just settle and just take things one day, one thing, one moment at a time. If we look beyond today, we're going to be overwhelmed. If we look at everything we have to do, the ACT, robotics competition, stuff, blah, blah, we're going to be stressed. One day, one thing, one moment at a time. Even though it's not possible, one way to maintain our mental health is to stop comparing. All right? Comparison, we've heard it before, comparison is a thief of joy. But whether it be in our schools, at our competitions, or on social media, what we tend to do is compare other people's highlight reels to our worst. All right? Someone is smarter, faster, more beautiful, whatever than I am. All right. And we just bring ourselves down. If you want to compare, if you feel you need to compare to yourself. Am I a little bit better today than I was yesterday? All right. Progress over perfection. A lot of perfectionism in our schools nowadays. And with the pressures and everything else, I always encourage people to become an excellentist, not a perfectionist. A perfectionist is, striving for something we can never reach. And it leads to a lot of mental health problems, a lot of anxiety. All right. But we can become excellent. Again, I can become a little better today than I was yesterday. Control the controllables. All right. If you haven't heard this, basically what this means, there's a lot of things in our lives that we cannot control. Even in competition. Can't even control if you win or not. All right. You can have your best outing and someone still beats you. There's a lot of things we can't control. And if we look at those things, we'll be frustrated. But if you hold up your phone and you turn it to selfie mode, that's what you can control. That beautiful, amazing person that looks back at you in the mirror every day, you alone control what you think, what you feel, what you do. If you maintain that, you will feel better and have better mental health. All right. Now, when I started, one thing we were going to look at is mental health first aid. Everything I just got done talking about is just kind of a condensed version of mental health. I mean, I could talk for hours and days, but there is this kind of gold standard program, kind of the gold standard nationwide, called mental health first aid. Basically what it is, it's something that began in 2000. By virtue of the little koala on the screen, which is the mascot for mental health first aid. Anyone want to guess where it started? John, you want to? I can tell, John, that you're mouthing it. You're
Australia.
Australia. Ding, ding. You know, I really wish we got to get some prizes going here. But it is. In 2000, it started in Australia as a way to teach people how to recognize, how to respond to people who are, have early warning signs and crisis warning signs. Came to the United States in 2008, and now it's been adapted to 25 countries. It's just a public health education, which expands everything I'm talking about today and goes into all of this stuff, things that I just touched on. Okay. And it's used everywhere. That's what it. And like I said, I want to have time to have conversation. All right. And that's what I'm going to do in a minute. I want questions, conversation, what you guys are putting some heavy stuff, some important stuff in the chat and you're talking about, and I'd love to flesh that out more. But before we do, from what I've said so far, what takeaways do you have? These are takeaways that I think Mick thinks are important. Hey, mental health is important. Hopefully we can take that away. Mental health is all of our responsibility. It's not it's not just clinicians. It's not like people like me. Yes, that's my profession. It's what I will devote my life with for the rest of my life. But it's all of our responsibility in our homes, in our communities, in our schools, spheres of influence. There is help and there is hope, without doubt. And mental health first aid is one program that can help. Yes, Scott.
So one of the things that I think I'm getting better at over the years of being a coach and a mentor is being less reactive to behavior and doing what you had mentioned earlier of don't judge someone by your first, I forgot the phrasing used, but don't let your first experience with them determine who you think they are, type of thing. I think it's one of the things that I certainly don't feel like I did a very good job of when I first started coaching, and I hope I'm starting to do better at that. But that's always been a struggle for me because I'm that kind of person who wants to get in there and, like you said, solve problems. I want to react. I want to respond, and stepping back and not doing that and observing and listening is a difficult skill to build.
And it's not natural for a lot of us at all. And it is, a lot of times we do, because of how we're built and what we want and everything, something happens and we react. We react based on our raw emotions and our thoughts. We just jump right in, right? A lot of times that doesn't necessarily work. What we want to teach ourselves, rather than just react, we want to teach ourselves to respond. And in order to do that, there's a situation, all right? And rather than just fix it, we're just going to pause. We're going to give ourselves a little space to kind of calm down and think it through, and then respond in a good way. So we want to teach ourselves to respond instead of react. And it is everything I've talked about, everything I probably will talk about as we go through this is skills. We all have strengths. We all have skills. Maybe these aren't your best skills yet, but with time and effort, they can be. even when we want to jump in and fix something, maybe for a student, all right, and hey, we'll fix it. But what do we teach them? Do we teach them to solve their own problems, or do we just enable them, by doing that? So absolutely. What other takeaways? Because then I'm going to open it up. I want to have conversation. But any other specific takeaways from this? Okay. This, if you need to take a screenshot or something, by all means, please do. This is just a reminder before we go into the QA part here. You are enough, you are worthy, you are capable, you are valued, you are cared about, you're never alone, you're doing the best you can, and you are you, and that's amazing. It may sound cheesy, but I guarantee if you are a mentor, there's someone you're working with that needs to hear that. All right. I think it's very, 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 very important. And I'm going to say, the part where it says you are doing the best you can, it reminds me, one of my definitions of success as a human being. It's not wealth. It's not the ACT score. It's not winning the competition. It's at the end of the night, when you put your head on the pillow to go to sleep, and you can honestly tell yourself, you know what? Today I did the best I could. Maybe I wasn't perfect. It didn't mean it was everything went right in my day, but I did the best I could. That's success. If I can wake up tomorrow and do the same thing, it's a pretty good life. And I think that's one thing, especially we can instill in, youth, no matter what age they are. It relieves a lot of that pressure we often talk about. So with that, we have time. I would love you to pick my brain. I would love you to ask questions. I would love to talk about whatever's on your mind with regards to mental health right now.
Mick, one of the things that I think I struggle with, and I suspect I'm not alone here, is that many of us, and I would say many of us that are on the call tonight too, but most of the mentors, especially in Minnesota, but likely worldwide, are volunteers. Mm-hmm. And so in today's day and age, there's a lot of risk of being a volunteer because it's very easy for a school to get rid of a volunteer. There's no contract. It doesn't take a whole lot to remove a volunteer from a program. And many of us that are on the call here tonight have been involved as a mentor for a decade or more. And that's a big investment of your life, of your emotion, to be involved with that. And when you are doing things as a mentor, you naturally evaluate the risk of, what is my risk of getting involved here and losing the thing that I enjoy doing? And so part of this is that, hey, you're not the paid coach, and some teams don't have any paid coaches. Most teams, I would say, have one staff person that's paid by the school. But there's always that risk of, this is outside of your stay in your lane type thing. This is outside of your purview. You don't have any training here. You're stepping into muddy waters that are going to get you in trouble. And so we're disincentivized. Maybe that's the best way to say it. A lot of us are disincentivized of walking into an area like this, where yes, we could make a positive impact, but there's tons of landmines that could result into very negative stuff happening.
And I mean, there's so much in what you just said. And, two things that come to mind is that the culture that we have within within your world, and how can we create a culture, be part of a culture where we are valued, and where we are, even as volunteers, looked at as leaders, looked at as, teachers in a way, not teachers, but we are here as a valued human being to help. And we bring those strengths. All right. And somehow creating a culture within the school or wherever we're volunteering to get to get buy-in for what we're doing, to see value in what we're doing. You know, whether that be with administration, whether that be with teachers, whoever it may be. So they actually see the value. We're not just our own little group, our own little silo, but we're as much a part of this as any other group. And another thing I think as volunteers, especially as volunteers, we have to know our why. Meaning, we have to walk in every day knowing why we do this. What is the reason that I put in the blood, sweat, and tears? Maybe I don't get the recognition. Maybe I'm stressed out beyond all recognition. But why do I do it? Why do I sacrifice and show up? Because that's where our passion is born. And if we lose that, that's when we sometimes get disgruntled. That's sometimes when we just go through the motions. We all have to have that. And that's, I mean, professionally, but especially as volunteers. There's a reason, if it's been a decade, there's a reason you all started this. And hopefully, if I were to ask right now, why do you do it? Well, would anyone be willing to answer that? If you're a mentor, what's your why? Why do you do what you do?
Well, since I started this, I will go. For me, I started because it was a way for me to spend time with my daughter who joined the team. I continued because I felt like I would be leaving a pretty big hole by leaving, and I didn't feel like I wanted to put a team in a situation where I would be me leaving would be a detriment. And today, I feel more like it's rewarding. I almost said fun, but I'm going to say rewarding. I'm going to say rewarding. It can be fun, but I'm going to say rewarding. I'm an entrepreneur, so I like building process. I like building constant improvement. And I feel like working with the students that we have on our team, we're building something better each year for the students that come behind them. And I enjoy seeing my student leaders get, every year it seems like we get more and more and more impressive students that are graduating from the programming, going on to do such amazing things that weren't even happening 5 years ago, 10 years ago, let alone when I was in school. And I like being part of that.
Wow, it almost sounds like fun, but fulfilling. And that's, with that, because you talk about the process. So often when we're in these roles, it's about the outcome. It's about, maybe winning competition or whatever, but in your roles, enjoying the process, even if the process is stepping back and just watching these kids, those aha moments when they get it or whatever it is, and celebrate those small wins, whether and teaching them to celebrate, whether it's in a given day, in a given season, whatever, celebrate the small wins. And even though, yes, it isn't always fun, I get the great honor of working with a lot of athletes. And this is very simple. When things we are passionate about, when they stop being fun, we got to do something. All right. Because this, like any other sport, it should be fun. I mean, yes, it's about growing and learning and expanding and all of this. Oh, you got to have fun. Especially I got 2 kids of my own. If you're in middle school, high school, whatever, and you're not having fun doing it, we got to make some changes. It can be fun, also very challenging, very competitive, very, eye-opening and everything else. So, absolutely. Anyone else want to share their why? I know I put you on the spot, but I'm going to give you a second to think about it, because my why I've developed over the years, it's actually very simple. The reason I do what I do in this office right here, this is, my office. I do what I do because I have the God-given ability and the amazing opportunity to help other people create a better life for themselves. So when I'm stressed And when I ask myself, why in God's name am I doing this? This is emotionally taxing, whatever. I remember that. I have the ability and the amazing opportunity to help other people create a better life. And that's what keeps me going. Anyone else have a why? The reason you do what you do?
I was going to say that I have kind of two reasons. One is I had so many, when I was a child and a young adult, I had so many people that helped me that I feel that I owe it to the rest of the world to pass that on. And second is just the inspiration that I see from some of these young people. It's not even like the spectacularly talented ones. Some of the everyday little things that happen and how they handle themselves that I get inspiration from.
Wow. It's inspiring to hear that. I mean, you use the word inspiration several times in there. And again, there's so many things in that you talk about. It's not just the talented ones. It's easy. It is easy to be inspired by talented ones. All right. That's you can see it. It's easy to be excited for them. It's the ones that maybe aren't, who may be struggling, who maybe don't get it. But seeing the smile on their face or see the relationships they're building or whatever it is, that's huge. And I love you said in there, give back to the world or the rest of the world. That's amazing. It's not even just one person. I've been given so much. This has given me so much. And hey, you know what? I'm going to give back. Beautiful thing. And the thing is, when you look at just the whole pay it forward thing, if we do something for that one person and we influence them, maybe we'll never know it. We influence them and they go out, influence a couple more people, and those people influence a couple more. You may never know the impact you're having on these kids. Maybe they'll say thank you, but your hope is that you're instilling in them not only the knowledge, but everything else to be a good human and go out and do amazing things. Anyone else have a burning desire to share their why? Otherwise, I'm going to open it up for more questions, discussions. It's probably not every day you get to, sit with a psychologist and just pick my brain. I want you to be able to ask questions about what you do, mental health, that maybe you don't get the opportunity to ask.
Mick, I have a different question if no one else wants to hop in, or maybe they can come back to their why. But I've worked in large companies. I've been an entrepreneur and started my own companies and hired employees. And I've spoken at lots of conferences on startups and software development and things. And one that's a reoccurring thing that I kind of push on hard for people that want to hire people or manage people is trust. And I haven't heard you say anything about trust tonight. And I'm wondering if you can share a little bit about the role of trust in working with students, especially when you're asking, how is it really going? I don't know that that's something that I would do with a student that I didn't feel like I had at least the beginning of some trust between them. And maybe some advice for folks on how to build that bridge and build trust.
Beautiful. And I'll talk about trust and relationship because you're absolutely right. If I'm going to ask someone how they're doing, if they don't know me, if they don't trust me, they're not going to answer. All right. So I encourage all of you, and I'm not sure how it works when, within the people you mentor and things like that, but it's about relationship. From day one, building into your culture, not just the process, not just, the robotic stuff. It's part of your job to build a relationship with every person there, not being their best friend or whatever. I want to build a relationship from day one. So if I ever do have to ask, at least we'll have a foundation. Because the thing is, trust, it isn't automatic. I often tell clients that I would be worried about you if you just got into any relationship, including the ones you're talking about, and they trust you. They shouldn't. If they do not know you, if they don't have a history with you, they're going to be a little skeptical. But over time, through conversation, through checking in with them, you build a relationship. When you build a relationship, you build the trust. All right. It is built, and it's built through intentional effort. All right. We have to invest in relationships. It's not, I don't know your realm. My realm is emotions, relationships, all that stuff. When I think of robotics, I don't know if that's really part of it, but it's important because those kids, a lot of them need relationships, and they all have emotions. All right. But building trust, and even let's say if you are going to talk to one of them and you don't have trust, they may say, I don't want to talk to you, or some teenage version of that. And that's okay. We don't have a relationship yet, and you don't trust me. We can honor that. But then what we do when we're having these conversations, hey, is there someone else you're willing to talk to? Maybe it's someone else, within our team, someone else, another mentor, whatever, someone at home. But if you don't trust me yet, is there someone else you're willing to talk to? All right. Does that help at all, Scott, or did it totally miss the mark?
No, I agree. I wanted you to say it. I didn't want to say my opinions of this because I'm obviously you have much more experience and expertise in here. I think that another thing that's important is that trust takes a long time to build, but can be destroyed very quickly. And I think and that happens between adults. That certainly can happen between students and adults. It can happen between students. I think that's probably something that we all recognize, but maybe you don't think too hard about. So it's one of the things that I think about a lot, having been throughout my career and then working with students, and that level of consistency. When students see inconsistency, they lose trust. Things like that, I think are important in our program. Absolutely. And because trust does something is said, something is done, and trust might be broken. It happens. It happens in all of our lives, probably all too frequently. What we do when that happens is going to make all the difference in the world. Do we just let it go, or do we address it? Hey, you know what? I messed up there. I apologize. Let's work on this. All right. Having a conversation. Effective communication is what builds trust, and it rebuilds trust once it's broken. And I tell people pretty much every day, people tell me I have trust issues. I'm like, good. Trust issues are a healthy thing. If someone's hurt you in some way, someone's betrayed you, broken your trust, you should have walls up until they prove to you again that you can trust them. But that's strike one. You do something happens to break trust. That's okay. We've all done it. You don't have to raise your hand. We've all done it. But are we going to put intentional effort into repairing it? Okay. Anyone else, whether it be words of wisdom, questions, things you want, even with regards to any of this, to the rest of the group? Let's see. Do you have any recommendations for generally improving culture and stigma around mental health for an entire team? It's easy for one person to come and learn about mental health at an event like this, but I'm not sure what my team can do as a whole to help each other. Ooh, that is a lot. And actually, if anyone else wants to jump in, and if you have ideas, please do so. I'm going to, does anyone have ideas for that? Like, hey, we're gonna come here, we're gonna learn a lot, but then we're gonna go back to our team and be like, what do we do? Anyone have ideas, things they've tried, things they've done? Well, when I read this, the last sentence is what really stuck. Your last part of this, which really stuck with me, is how do you get a team to help each other? We've talked a lot over the years. Actually, it comes up at the end of every single year. We talk about we need to do more team building at the beginning of the year. We need to do more team building. You need to do more social fun stuff, not just do robotics. And of course, with the way the schedule is, we just don't. I mean, I think, the kids come and they find their people and they enjoy each other, but we have too many students that it gets to be January and they still don't know the names of all the students, maybe not even half the students on the team. And, so one thing is, how do you get your team to build better relationships? Now, depending on the size of your team, that changes things a lot. If you have a team of 10 or even 20 students, that's easier to do than when you have a team of 60 students. But from the mental, I don't want to speak to how do you get more people to be more aware of mental health stuff. But I think step one is to try to build broader relationships. And sometimes that means your team can't just work on robotics. They have to do other things together too.
Yeah, beautifully said. And I'll add to that, it sounds simple, but this is what I tell coaches, of different sports teams and things like that. One of the first and best things you can do, if you're a volunteer, if you're a leader or you're a mentor or whatever, is verbally endorse mental health. Verbally say that, hey, we all got it. It's important. We want to take care of ours and we want to take care of each other. Having someone they respect in a leadership role verbally endorse and say how important it is speaks volumes, because then it isn't silent and there's probably someone in there, and you can have, whether it's 2 minutes at the beginning of, if you're practicing building whatever it is, and just do a check-in, how people are doing, something they're grateful for, whatever. I mean, or some, the team building thing. It really is about, it's creating, and that's why I put this up, a mental health friendly culture. Make it visible, whether it's in the school or wherever I don't know what kind of facility, what room you're all doing this in. All right. Does it say anything about mental health? Do you talk about mental health? Do you have student captains? No? Yeah. Okay. Are they on board? Are they talking to their peers about mental health? Are they talking about, those are the little things that can go a long way. It's not like we have to all be trained necessarily, but talking about it was one of the biggest things. And Stacy, you raised your hand here.
I did. One of the things that we've been doing in our team is some of the concerns that students have, maybe how interactions of other team members are impacting them, it comes up in our bi-weekly sprints in kind of the start, stop, continue, and address some things more globally, and also trying to help the students, if they're looking for the words to talk to that other team member of, hey, that really bothers me, or you're in my space and I really am uncomfortable with you in my, other people in my space, and that's important to me that you don't touch my things, or whatever it happens to be, so that they can find their words too, because not everything is a coach or mentor intervention. Sometimes just helping them come up with what that dialogue might be can be useful. And then during the build season, eating together. That's a big thing. We all try and eat at the same time. And the students wind up moving from table to table and working with different, or eating with different people, so they get a chance to know each other a little bit better.
Love it. And again, doing every one of those things with intention, and actually telling them the reason we're eating together or the reason we're doing this is for this, so they understand there's a purpose. And a big thing with any team is creating norms. Okay, one of our norms is we treat people with respect. We use these words, whatever, so they know when they are with you and in this group, no matter how big or small, we have certain expectations, norms in this group, as far as the language we use, and all that kind of stuff. And that's likely something you already do, but it's give it thought. This is a team like any other. All right. And there's going to be lots of different personalities, a lot of different things. But no matter who you are we coming together and we're all expected to do, certain things when we're together? We may not be friends. We may not care about each other once we're going on our way. But when we're here, this is what we expect. This is a safe place where we respect ourselves and respect each other. These are the certain things we will do. And when we do that, when we create norms, we create a culture where the students almost start governing themselves. They know, hey, we don't talk like that type of thing. So it's not just the top down. Anything else? I'm mindful of time. It's 8:24.
Mick, do you have any advice? This has come up, I don't want to say often, but it comes up occasionally about how do you reset culture? How do you when a student, and a lot of times it is a student, but if a student or a mentor observes, hey, we've got to have a culture shift here. We need to reset. I've heard stories in the past where we've got a very young team. And I know this is stereotypical and it sounds very negative, but we brought in a lot of middle school behaviors. And robotics is an organization that runs very, very much like a professional type of organization, and all the norms that come with being a professional. Do you have advice on attempting to reset or steer culture in a new direction for teams that might feel like that's something that they need?
Okay. And we look at resetting culture, we always have to look at like who and what is the culture that has been set, and are those people still within the culture? Because sometimes the culture is made or broken from the top on down. I think it's important to spend time for any of the leaders to find out, okay, let's define it. What do we want this culture to be? What do we actually want? And then talk to the team. Hey, are there certain expectations that we can all agree upon as we move forward, and have them have a voice, have them try to brainstorm what this culture thing might look like. They don't get all the choice in it, but I think we give thought about what we want and kind of morph that in our heads, and then find out, what do you all want? And how can we put all that together so we can have the best team, but the best culture possible? Because sometimes we have to look at, start with the end in mind. We use the word culture, but what actually is that? And what do we ultimately want? What is this utopia? And then once we have that picture, then we just break it. Okay, how do I get that? How do I get that? How do I get that? Right? But there's nothing wrong with even saying, hey, we're just gonna pause everything a second. And we're gonna try to create the best, not only the best team, but the best humans and the best environment possible. I have some ideas from a mentor standpoint, but I would love to hear yours as well. Let's just sit down and have a conversation. The more you can talk, the more you can get them talking, the better. But I really think it starts with, what do we want to shift it? But what do we want to shift it to? What do we want?
So I'd like to add on to that of what do we want. This has been a topic of conversation several times on the roundtable, but we talk about core values and have the students go through a core values exercise of what values embody our team, and then we evaluate students based on those core values. Are they exemplifying these core values for Nightcrawler, we do that when we choose our captains and our leaders. We talk about behavior in the realm of our core values. And so I think to your point of establishing what kind of team do you want to be, core values is something that I think is very familiar to a lot of robotics teams. And maybe that's a way to start.
And I also think when it comes to values, because what you look at when you're looking at that, you look at these are the values that we subscribe to. These are our values. Okay. Then given that, then there's norms. These are the expectations we want from each one of you based on the values. But then there's the third part is, okay, if you violate a norm, what are we going to do about it? Because if we have values and we have norms, but we don't have a way to intervene if they're not being followed, it will never work. All right. And values, by and large, I know 18-year-olds coming to college don't know. A lot of the kids, when you say values or even a particular value, they may not know what that means. There isn't a behavioral definition. If you ask a group of people what they value, I guarantee they won't know more than 5-10 things. So sometimes it's a little education, like what the heck is a value? What does it mean? What's a behavioral definition? All right. And then make norms, the expectations on our team, and then some type of intervention that if you violate it, here's what happens. Not punishment, but I love values. Values are important there. I mean, that's what drives us to do things in all of our lives. But I don't think there's many teenagers out there who know what they value. I mean, just developmentally.
Well, as Mick said, we're at 8:30, so I want to leave the floor open for any final questions or comments anyone might have. And Mick, feel free if you have closing comments that you want to make, go right ahead.
I would love to hear from you. I just want to thank you. I hope you all took something from it. I mean, this is enjoyable to me. I love your perspective and inviting me into your world. So if you ever need anything while you think of your final comments, please reach out to me for anything. Anyone else have anything they'd like to say for the good of the order?
All
Mick,
right.
this is Chris. I just wanted to say thanks for coming on and giving this presentation. I know I didn't have too many comments or questions during the presentation, but I found it very useful.
Oh, well, thank you, Chris. And sometimes just listening and soaking it up is what you need. So thank you very much.
Yes, everyone, big round of applause. Thank you very much, Mick. We really appreciate it. And please, I mean, one of the reasons why we record these roundtables and now we're on a podcast platform as well is that we want to have the ability to take this advice, get it in people's hands whenever they're available. Sunday night is not always the best night for everyone. So that's why we record it. Pass along a link to this recordings to the friends and to your teammates because there's so much good advice here. And we look forward to hearing people's thoughts about it in the coming weeks and months as we always, things trickle in about the episodes they like the most. So please pass it along. We really appreciate that if you do. And finally, okay, once again, thanks, Mick. And we will see everybody next week. If you want to sign up for the newsletter to get a reminder, you can go to 2052.com/roundtable and join the mailing list. And then you'll get a reminder every Friday or Saturday reminding you of the upcoming roundtable, and you can get it added to your calendar. All right, everyone, have a great night. Thanks again, Mick. See you next week.
That's it for this week's FRC Roundtable. Join us live all season long, every Sunday night. Visit the website at team2052.com/roundtable to sign up for weekly invites. In the meantime, keep building, keep learning, and we'll see you next week.